All right.
Okay, today I want to enlighten you on the practice of flexible dieting, specifically connecting it to everyday life. What exactly is flexible dieting? Why it works so well? And two ways you can apply it in real life. When someone talks about the human body, it isn't always the easiest thing to comprehend. Some aspects are very complex. Ben Mug of LiveScience.com states that there are over 650 different skeletal muscles in the body. Considering how each and every muscle contribute to each other in daily life, like simple acts like pushing, pulling, walking, or even like your heart beating. This is just the tip of the iceberg. This is a big scale. When you go smaller scale, when you talk about the billions of cells in the body, it's really something to think about. How each different cell has distinct job to do. How each cell knows what to do, and how one mistake in one cell would ruin the whole thing. Adding the bigger spectrum and the smaller spectrum, it's quite astonishing how these two go together. Each year, scientists find new and innovative ways to manipulate with these complexities, maybe by medicine, by genetics, by surgery. But people nowadays overlook arguably the most influential factor that affects the human body, that affects all its muscles, all the billions of cells, all the functions in everyday life. That is food. Or more basically, the process of eating. Now, consuming food is one of the most basic physiological needs, and it doesn't make sense. So, given the chance to know more about it and how to better our lives with it, it doesn't make sense not to get a chance to learn more about it. Now, that's where flexible dieting comes in. First off, what is flexible dieting? Flexible dieting is basically the combination of caloric needs and the ratio of your macronutrients, basically your protein, carbs, and fats. More on the calories first. How one determines the caloric needs for a person is based on two factors. Their BMR, which is their basal metabolic rate, which is determined by, which is responsible for your breathing, your body temperature, your cell growth, and your heart beating. And secondly, the calories you need for daily life, like walking, exercise, like talking. So those two add on what you use, on the calories you use every day. When it comes to the protein, carbs, and fats, the reason why I pick these food and not healthier foods or healthier options is what the awesome thing about flexible dieting is, because it focuses on ratios and caloric needs, which is like a certain number, you can find a way to integrate these kinds of foods in your diet. So you're saying, how can I add a burger, barbecue, Ferrero, and creme brulee in a diet which is healthy? How it does that is by this simple scheme. How 1 gram of fat is 9 calories, and how carbs and proteins are 4 calories. If flexible dieting, in a way, it gives you a schematic how to partition your food in it every day. So it takes in the weight of the fat and the grams and carbs and proteins differently. Talking about each one differently, there's a lot of misconceptions on how people perceive these macronutrients. First, we go with fats, has the worst reputation, because when people think of fat, they think junk food, they think bad, they think unhealthy. But when in fact fats is very important for hormones and absorption of vitamins A, D, E, and K, which are fat-soluble vitamins. Then we go to proteins. Proteins, I guess, is you could argue that this is the best, but then the average person overdoses on protein because of the daily appetite of everyone. Mostly, the average person's diet consists of meat, which is very high in protein. Another macronutrient which has very bad reputation is carbs for some reason. Carbs is the most efficient energy source you can have because of glucose. Glucose, when undergoing glycolysis, produces ATP, which is the primary source of energy. So when people say, I'm going to cut carbs, I'm not going to eat any carbs, is setting themselves up for failure because carbs is your most efficient source of energy. So this is how basically flexible dieting works. You get a percentage of each carb, protein, fat, and you fix it towards your goal. So someone who is more active, who's more outgoing, tend to have higher carbs due to the glucose you get from carbs. And if some people who want to lose fat more, they tend to go to higher protein because it burns faster. So that's the beauty of flexible dieting, because it's named flexible dieting. It's very flexible. You get to fix it according to your needs. Now there are two ways to flexible diet. One is the manual way, where in every label in food, you can track the protein, the fats, and the carbohydrates in the label. And then there's the easier way. There's an app called MyFitnessPal, which basically it gives you what to eat every day, and it has all the macros there for you, easily accessible. So, in conclusion, I went over how I connect flexible dieting to everyday life. What is flexible dieting? Why is it why it works so well? And two ways you can use it. Out of the thousands of individual processes the body goes through, isn't it amazing how one of the most influential processes can be easily dictated by everyday activities, by how we eat?
All right, Alexis, share your thoughts with us, please.
So I really liked the thesis statement. The strongest points were that he seemed like he knew what he was talking about, so it made it more interesting. And the pictures in the beginning helped understand more or less what he was talking about when he was talking about like the cells, right? And he would go into detail about like he would define stuff. Something he could improve would have been maybe talking about going more into detail about the unhealthy foods and like more about that. The visual aids made it more interesting, but overall he did a really good job at it.
All right. Well, I think the visual aids keep people's interest because it makes everybody hungry. You know, looking at the food there that we're going to get. That's appreciated. I think you needed to have a little bit more contrast to other kinds of dieting, or what the average person's consumption of food is like, so that we can see how flexible dieting is a variation on those sorts of things, and why it's different and useful in the way that you're talking about it. So you've got this whole idea about this concept of a way of eating. Why is this concept different from what we're doing? As far as I can tell, most people probably do flexible dieting. They eat some of all of those kinds of things. But the question is, well, you have to have more of one thing than another in order to be, to lose weight, to maintain your weight, or to be at the healthy stasis that you are looking for. So that's kind of what you're explaining. So how would somebody, you've got those images up there, the hamburger, the creme brulee, the candy, and all that sort of stuff. So how would somebody be able to keep those things in their diet and still lose weight, or maintain their weight if they were already relatively low? I think we need some contrasting sorts of things. So the app illustration that you have right at the end probably would provide that kind of comparison. So if you consume this for your breakfast, then this is acceptable for your lunch. Or if you had this many calories in these two categories yesterday, then you have to limit to what, these categories today. If you have those, if you had everything that was in those pictures, for instance, in a week, how would you need to spread them out, or you need to eat them all on one day, or something like that. So there's just a little bit more explanation about how this works with the way people eat. I thought you kind of explained the concept pretty well, but how it works and how it's different, I think, needs to be explained in a little bit more detail. Now let me talk about something that I think is a little problematic right at the beginning. You start with your purpose statement. You've got your preview immediately. There's no attention device to begin with. I think most of what comes after that is supposed to be your attention device, and you've got it in the wrong spot. Right? So you've got all this stuff about how important it is, even at the microscopic level of the cell. You've got the muscles image that you show, and then you've got the working at the cellular. That's really the setup of the speech, and then your purpose statement should be coming in and say, so how do we maintain all these things? One of the things that people ought to be doing is this flexible diet sort of thing. So that should be the attention device. As it is, you have no attention device. You tell us what your topic is. You go into all this stuff that has nothing to do with what you're talking about, at least not in detail. I mean, it's general background stuff, but it doesn't really lead to an explanation of the subject that you're focusing on. And then about 2.5 minutes into your speech, we get the first supporting point that actually deals with flexible dieting. So I think that that's the place that you need to make your first adjustment there. I thought, like I said, the visuals were pretty effective and well integrated. I didn't hear much source citation after that first section where you were talking about the stuff that is not directly related to flexible dieting. I'm sure that you did some research on this, but it's not really being integrated very well into the speech. And delivery-wise, I think you do a pretty good job projecting your voice and speaking. Sometimes you turn toward the screen and speak a little bit more that way. We're getting ready to work on our next presentation, which is all about delivery. And I think everybody over here felt pretty good about your speech, and everybody over there probably felt a little bit ignored, because I don't think you look at them hardly at all. It's almost as if they are in the background instead of part of your audience. So you're going to want to be adjusting those sorts of things as we go along. Thank you.